Hello again, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about prepositions. But you may ask me, what is a preposition? And speaking simply, prepositions are these tiny little words which cause a lot of trouble for many English students because they're words which define relationships between other words within a sentence. But I'll try to shed some light on them for you today. So let's all look at the whiteboard together. Now, you should have already seen most of this vocabulary while you were watching the video on vocabulary for today's lesson. And all of the words that you see in bold are prepositions. Now, let's talk about a few of these prepositions in a little bit more detail. First, the preposition at. We use the preposition at to refer to a specific place or location or a specific time. For example, at the same time or at the grocery store. On the other hand, we use the preposition on when we're talking about vertical or horizontal surfaces to show that something is located on these surfaces. However, we use different prepositions when we're talking about location, direction, time, ways of travel, and etc. So let's study these prepositions in a little bit more detail by looking at some examples. If we're talking about time, we mostly use the prepositions in, on, and at in the following combinations. I was born in January. Here we're using in with a month. Or I was born in winter. Here, I'm using in with a season or another period of time. Another example, I was born in 2000. Here, I'm using in combination with a year. But I can also say, I was born in the morning. Here, I'm using in with a part of the day. Moving on to the word on, however, I can also say something like, I was born on the 7th of January. Instead of just saying in January, here it's on a certain day, on a specific day. Or for example, I was born on Tuesday. Here, Tuesday is a certain day of the week. But if we want to be even more precise, I can say that I was born at 10 p.m. Here, we're using at with a very specific time, 10 p.m. And this can be a little bit confusing once we move on to something like holidays. For example, I can say that my family usually goes to church on Christmas Day. Here, I'm talking about Christmas Day itself, on a certain day, just like on the 7th of January. But if I want to say generally at Christmas time, maybe not the day itself, but the time around it, I could say that at Christmas, our family usually goes to church. However, be very careful because we do not use in, on, or at with other time phrases such as first, next, last, every, all, any or one, tomorrow, any other time phrases. We will not use at, in, or on because here, even though they're prepositions, they are telling me the time, so I don't need anything else. So some examples of incorrect sentences using this mistake would be in every week. You should just say every week. Or on last Tuesday. Simply last Tuesday. At next Easter should just be next Easter. And finally, in tomorrow should just be tomorrow without the word in. So we have 3 more prepositions of time that you should see on the board. And these are from, and then to, till, or until. And let's study these in the following sentences. Edu studied in London from 2000 to 2004. Or I could also say, Edu studied in London from 2000 till, or until 2004. From and to, until, or until is used to indicate the time which something starts and the time which it also finishes. From 2000 to or till or until 2004. But you should know that till is a little bit informal. It's relaxed, it's casual. We should also mention that the preposition in can be used in reference to the time when something happens. For example, see you in a week, or we are going to Japan in 2 months. Here, the preposition in simply tells us that this is happening sometime from now. In the future, in 2 months, we will be in Japan. However, there are 2 more phrases talking about time where we use the preposition, or where we use prepositions. One, the on time. If I say that something is on time, I mean that it happens according to a prearranged schedule or timetable. However, in time refers to a deadline. For example, if you have a paper due at 9 a.m. and you turn it in at 9:01, you are not in time, and you did not finish your paper in time. So let's look at some examples using both in time and on time and examine the differences between them. So let's look at this example. Let's say that a train leaves at 10 a.m. Actually, it leaves at 10:10 a.m. But you arrive at 10:05. Are you in time or on time? Right. You didn't arrive on time. You were 5 minutes late, but you did arrive in time to catch the train. Now, there are 2 more prepositions of time that I want to introduce you to. The prepositions since and for. And let's look at these in the following examples. They've lived in Kiev for 10 years, or 2 weeks, or 3 days. Or, the other example, they've lived in Kiev since last year. Here, the preposition for is being used to explain a duration of time. It tells me how long the time happened, how long that they have lived for 4 years. However, since tells me the starting point of this action. They have lived here since last year, and from this point, they have lived in Kiev. And I think that's all now for prepositions of time, so let's move on to prepositions of place. So let's look at the picture together. You should see a cute little badger dog right now, and let's talk about him. I can say that the badger dog is at the entrance at a specific place. Or I can say that the badger dog is on the table. Here he's on a horizontal surface. Or finally, I can say that the badger dog is in the box, inside a closed area. And in all of these examples, I'm just using prepositions to talk about where something is located. In this case, the badger dog. So you should see the next group of prepositions on your screen right now. And let's look at a few more pictures. In this next picture, where's the badger dog? Right. The badger dog is running in front of its master. But what about its master? Correct. The master is running behind the badger dog. What about in this next picture? Where's the dog now? Good. The dog is above the table. And in the next picture? Right. It's the opposite. The dog is now under the table. And what about in this next picture? What about the cat? Good. The cat is between the dogs. So now let's look at the next picture. You should see 2 buildings on your screen. And I can say that the buildings are next to each other. But if I want to talk about a kindergarten, I could say that the kindergarten is near or close to the houses. And in this case, I don't know that it's next to them on one side. It could be right there, right next to them, or it could be a few minutes away. And in here, next to means they are right next to each other. They touch. They are adjacent. However, near and close to don't mean this. They mean that by location, it would not take very long to get from one to the other. But it could be touching, or it could also be several minutes walking. So now let's have a little practice. You should see a map on your screen, and you'll hear the info about the location of the place you're about to need to find on the map. Are you ready? You're in London, everybody, and you would like to visit the London Sea Life Aquarium. So you take a map and you wonder, well, where is it? Right, it's at 1 Belvedere Road in a large building called the County Hall. This is next to the Royal Festival Hall, but rather far from the British Museum. The London Sea Life Aquarium is on the corner of Westminster Boulevard. There's Lambeth Palace near it. So today, we have revised prepositions of time and of place, and you can see all of these in Table 1. So I hope today you'll be able to review the grammar without any difficulties, and I hope you understood the grammar without too much difficulty. We'll see you next time.